Hey guys, so this is going to be more of a discussion-based video where we discuss and talk about sort of the history of Zenkai Awakening in this game. Basically, it's been a year since Zenkai Awakening was introduced. I'm recording this video on November 22nd. It is pretty much a year since it came out. I mean, take a look at when the announcement here on DBZ Legends Space has here. Implementation of Zenkai Awakening came out on the 4th of December. That was when they had their major/massive update or whatever they wanted to call it last year. So pretty much it's been a full year since we've had Zenkai Awakenings implemented into the game. Now, the first three Zenkais they implemented into the game were Beerus, Goku, and Broly. And yeah, so it was 3 at once, which I don't think we've never had 3 at once again since the implementation, which makes sense. And I just want to sort of discuss their philosophy on Zenkai Awakening and how that's sort of evolved over the course of this past year until we've ended up basically where we are right now. We have all these characters in Zenkai Awakening. So how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 24 characters in total that have Zenkai Awakenings right now. Yeah. By the way, I have videos up on every single one of these characters at 1400%, 14 stars, so yeah, I've experienced all of these characters throughout their existence in the game, so I am in a pretty good spot here to critique basically how these characters have evolved in terms of the Zenkai ability. But yeah, let's first talk about what their philosophy was pretty much when they first released Zenkai Awakening. So the Zenkai Awakening, again, was part of their massive update they released last year, and it's sort of their replacement for the old balance adjustments. Now, I don't really have a thing up for here for the balance adjustments, but basically what those battle adjustments were before the Zenkai system came out was they would take like 5 Sparkings and 5 EX units, and then they would basically just buff them up for free. So if let's say, for example, you had the Purple Scouter Vegeta. You had the Purple Scouter Vegeta. He was like god-awful trash, you know, one of the first Sparkings they ever released in the game. He was actually a launch Sparking. And then all of a sudden they decided to do a balance change for him. Those balance changes were, I guess, sort of misleading in the way that if you were like a very casual player, they were very, very helpful for you because obviously it makes your old character stronger for free. Nothing really bad about that. But if you're somebody who wants to be competitive in PvP and you're looking for these balance changes to really save you and like open up some more windows or doors for you to team build better, maybe all of a sudden Scouter Vegeta is now an option for you. That wasn't necessarily the goal that it fulfilled, because a lot of times those balance changes ended up not being, you know, meaningful or impactful at all. I can actually just scroll through some of these characters that we have on here. Let me just go down to like the lower part here. So yeah, like Scouter Vegeta got his balance change. He ended up not being used at all after that. Piccolo got his balance change. He was okay after that. This yellow Final Form Frieza got his balance change. He was actually relatively good after that. He was one of the few exceptions. The other big exception to the balance change thing was, I don't know if I can even find him, Purple 17. Is he on here anywhere? I don't know if I can find him. Purple 17, but yeah, Purple 17 was another big exception to that rule because Purple 17 actually ended up being very, very good right here. Look how far up on the list he is. He's above Super Vegito. Like, he actually ended up being really good in terms of a post-balance change unit. But I would say for the most part, like 70% of those units that were changed from the balance changes ended up not being very good. And keep in mind, changing 10 units at a time, because remember, they did EXs, even like way, way, way back to the beginning of the game, they ended up even balance changing hero units. But basically, implementing those balance changes for 10 units at a time is not easy. So I think Zenkai Awakening was a way for them to really only focus all of their resources on like 1 or 2 units at a time that they would work on Zenkai Awakening, instead of just doing 10 at once, which, you know, it's not like they do no balance testing at all, but again, it's probably not that much. But yeah, pretty much this is where we're at right now with Zenkai Awakening, and I think their philosophy for the initial, I guess, vision that they had for Zenkai Awakening was they wanted it to be a process where, okay, the average player is going to pick one of these units they want to Zenkai. Obviously, not everybody can do Beerus because he's not at 7 stars. So let's say, for example, the Goku, right? Let's say you're an average player and you're like, okay, cool, Zenkai Awakening is out. I'm going to pick this Goku to focus on in order to, you know, in terms of soul boosting him and getting him up to full Zenkai or whatever. Because back when these Zenkais came out, every single Zenkai unit took approximately 20,000 plus crystals to, well, 21 to 22,000 on average. To get them to Zenkai 7, whereas now it's about 1/3 of that cost, which is a big, big deal. So their philosophy on this, I believe at the time, was we're going to make this sort of like a long-term goal for our players to strive for. And, you know, once you're able to actually get them all the way soul boosted, you're actually able to get them all the way to Zenkai 7, you're going to have one of the most powerful units in the game, and that's going to allow you to be, you know, relevant and competitive in PvP for a long period of time, which was the case, right? I remember when Beerus first came out, he was the first character that I Zenkai 7'd because I was very excited that he was finally getting a buff, because when he first released, he was god awful, no pun intended. And finally, he became literally, like, when he Zenkai Awakened initially, this Beerus was like the best unit in the game by far. No one even came close. He was like in his own tier. You think Gohan is really OP right now in the meta? There was nothing compared to Beerus. Like, I had a Zenkai 7 Beerus. It was like, he was one-shotting his enemies with like blast cards, like one after the other. It was like bowling. You were bowling over your opponents, basically. Especially when you paired him up with Whis. But yeah, so I experienced this back with Beerus because he was the only character I got to Zenkai 7. I didn't care about Goku, I didn't care about Broly as much. So I focused on Beerus, and I remember it took me like at least a month, or maybe even a little bit longer than that. Maybe it was like a month and a half to fully soul boost him in the Zenkai soul boosting system, because of how difficult it was to obtain Zenkai souls. I remember back when the Zenkai Awakening system first came out, the only way you could obtain Zenkai souls was through co-op. So you basically, you did co-op, you got the adventures through co-op, and that's how you boosted your Zenkai units. That was the only way. And then back then, I think it was like 1/3 of the amount of Zenkai souls dropped from the adventures as they do now. So you had to be playing literally 24/7 on doing those co-op adventures, and then constantly refreshing them in order to even have a chance at fully soul boosting these units. So they were really pushing co-op, because remember, co-op came out at the same time as this. It was also a part of that massive update as well. So that was basically what they wanted to focus on in terms of how they wanted the Zenkai system to work for that initial batch of units that came out. Next, I think the next Zenkai unit to come out was Fat Buu, the Majin Buu Good, the green one. I think it was like a month later, and I think basically what their initial system was back then for the first few months, it was approximately 1 Zenkai per month, which is fair and reasonable. I don't think that's an unrealistic timeline to have. And again, their goal was not for everybody to get every single Zenkai to Zenkai 7. That's not what they were intending on people doing. They wanted people to like pick and choose which, their favorite characters or characters on teams that they're, utilizing the most. So if like you were a regen main, then yeah, you would Zenkai Buu. But if you were like, I don't know, a hybrid Saiyan main, you wouldn't Zenkai Buu. So that was sort of what they were intending with this. And Zenkai Buu ended up being like, honestly, one of the bigger problems in the game for a long time, because of the fact that the regen meta the regen team just received Super Baby 2, and the combination of Fat Buu and Super Baby 2 basically made that team unkillable. Like there was like a period of time in there where if you had Zenkai 7 Buu and Super Baby 2, like people would just forfeit on the character select screen because they knew they wouldn't be able to kill you before the timer ran out. Like the timer ran out so often. It was ridiculous how often it ran out. And this was even post Super Vegito being in the game. Like even Super Vegito wouldn't be able to like out damage the amount of healing that team was able to do. So it wouldn't even really matter that much. But yeah, that was when Zenkai Buu came out. And then they sort of threw out other units like, let me just look through this. So Goku Black was one of those units. Purple Gohan was in there. And that's pretty much it. So before the second anniversary, we pretty much had these 3 units that were Zenkai'd. We had Buu. Actually, yeah, we also had Cooler. We had Buu. We had Goku Black. We had this Purple Gohan. And then the last one to come out before the anniversary, the second year anniversary, was Blue Cooler. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 total Zenkai units. Actually, no, I think Kid Goku was also... Yeah, Kid Goku was out too, so that's 8. So 8 Zenkai units were out before the second anniversary. And now you take a look at where we are now. Again, I'm recording this in November. The anniversary started in June. So honestly, it's been about halfway. Well, a little bit less. Because, okay, so the massive update came out in December. So then you have January, February, March, April, May, June. So that's about 7 months after this. And now we're 5 months from there. So a little bit less than halfway. And we've gotten, in terms of the new Zenkai units, because let's just count. Ready? So from the 2nd anniversary, this is how many Zenkai units they've released: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, is Scouter Vegeta before? Scouter Vegeta might have been before the end. I don't even remember when he released. Actually, was he before? I don't even remember. No, I think it was after. I think it was after Trunks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 Zenkai units have released post 2nd anniversary. Think about that. Think about how insane that is. I don't know. So clearly their philosophy on Zenkai has changed since the initial wave of these 3 Zenkai units have come out, because I just explained how they didn't expect everybody to get all these units. They didn't expect everybody to be able to solo boost them immediately. And now they're like, since the 2nd anniversary came out, they're like, okay, let's do this guy, this guy, this guy. Like, they're just rapid firing Zenkais. And even in some cases, we have 2 at a time. Like, this Red Cell came out along with this Gohan. This Blue Goku just came out with this Broly. Right? So, like, not only are they speeding up the rate at which they're doing Zenkais, they're releasing multiple Zenkais per wave. So, like, what is different and what is going on in their mindset with these Zenkai units? So, the first thing we can look at are the availability of the Zenkai souls, because I just talked about here how it was like almost impossible to get Zenkai souls. The only way to do it was through co-op, and you had to use your dual coins, and you had to get them through the adventures. Now they have the updated Rush Ultra Space Time Rush shop, where it's like very, very easy to get Zenkai souls. You can get Zenkai souls from the Z Metal shop, and adventures now drop. I think it's like 2 to 3 times more Zenkai souls than they used to back when these guys first released. So it is so much easier to get Zenkai souls now than it used to be. And now we also have the raid events, where you can literally just buy Zenkai souls from the metal shop from there. There's a bunch of different events that now I remember the Halloween event, I think, did actually give out Zenkai souls that you could buy with the currency from that. So there's like a billion different ways you can get Zenkai souls now as compared to when the Zenkai system first released. Next are like the normal and super souls. Now for me personally, I'm obviously not a normal player, so I'm trying to max out all these Zenkai units, right? And now that I have them all done, I can 100% tell you with confidence that the hardest part about doing this was the Super Souls. And they definitely realized that, and that's why they came out with those like purchasable missions that like gave the souls. I think it was like a bunch of souls, a bunch of energy, skip tick, like all the resource stuff that you could get with purchasing the missions. So that was a way that they sort of made it easier for people to get these Zenkai units. So basically what I'm trying to get at with this is, I think their mindset went from basically, okay, you know what, focus on one, and then maybe like 3 months later you can do another one, to whereas now it's focus on like one, and then like a month later focus on another one, instead of like 3 or 4 months later. So, or maybe even like a few weeks later, like maybe, okay, 1 week focus on this Gohan, and then like 2 weeks later focus on this Goku or something. So I guess they're trying to push the Zenkai meta or meta-ish teams more with the system out, and they're trying to make it easier for people to, one, obtain the Zenkai units, because again, they made it about 1/3 the cost that they used to in terms of getting them to Zenkai 7, because remember, this guy took about 21,000 crystals to get to Zenkai 7 with the old system. And I think that's why they feel more comfortable just throwing out a bunch more of these Zenkais, you know, in a shorter period of time, because it costs like 1/3 of the amount. So they're releasing like triple the amount of Zenkais they used to. So that's another reason. And then I guess they sort of want to push the meta of always having a Zenkai unit on your team so you can get the buffs or whatever the cause may be. And I think I'm more of a fan of the old system, to be honest, just as a conclusion to this video here. Because the old system, like, you ran across a Zenkai 7 unit like once every like 10 matches. Like, I would run across Zenkai 7 Broly or Goku or Beerus, or even a Boo, like once every 10 matches, and it would be not as rare. But I mean, that's just due to the fact that there weren't as many Zenkai units in the game. But even if you kept it like the old system, where it was like one Zenkai every month, I think you would run into a lot less Zenkais, and nowadays, if you queue up into PvP, I'm running across teams that have 3 to 4 Zenkais on their team. And it's just like, especially with the new battle system where you can like cover change as many times as you want, and I don't know, things just get crazy. Like you run into Zenkai 18 and you're running a team where you can cover change multiple times, and you get caught in a combo, you cover change again, and like you just die. Like some of these units, like their kits are so ridiculous. Like take a look at Gohan, for instance. Like it's not only 18 that's the culprit of this. Like Gohan, let me just put him on Zenkai. Yeah, so he gets 40 ki and 25 damage whenever you switch against him. So like these units are made to just kill you if you switch a lot. And so this battle system with all these units that like sort of have similar abilities to that, where like if you switch, you get inflicted by attribute downgrades or whatever. Like they're just gonna like destroy you. And the last thing I wanted to touch on quickly was the fact that I've been telling people a lot more often recently, it's way more beneficial to focus on Zenkai units rather than new units. And I still think that's the case. Like, we have like UI Goku and Jiren coming up for Black Friday. It's been leaked. It's pretty much been confirmed at this point. I would be very surprised if UI Goku is better than Gohan. Like, can you imagine a character better than Gohan? I don't even want to think about it, to be honest. Like, Gohan set the bar so high that, and this goes back to the video I made talking about power creep, so if you haven't watched that, I recommend you go watch that so you can understand where I'm coming from here. But you can't keep one-upping the previous best unit. Otherwise, you're going to get to a point where if you have a unit that's one-upping Gohan, like what happens to the rest of the game? Like, I'm just going to go to the character list. Like I'm just going to scroll to a random place in the character list. Like what happens to this character? What happens to this character? What happens to, I don't know, this character who literally just came out? What happens to this character? Like, just pulling random units. Like, this guy is going to be fodder. They're all going to be fodder. Like, if you reach a level where this guy becomes not the best, and then you start basically printing or creating units at a level that is, like, beyond this, then the rest of the game just becomes unusable because they're just going to get one comboed, or they're not going to stand a chance against those newer units. And so I feel that this acceleration of the Zenkai system, and basically the increase in rapidity that they're releasing these Zenkai units, because of how powerful they are, it's just contributing way more heavily to the power creep in this game, that it just makes it unhealthy for the rest of the players. And for even people who can't Zenkai their units, like, think about the free-to-play player base. I'm telling you right now, if I was free-to-play, I would be long gone. Just telling you. If I was free to play, this game actually is quite generous with the amount of resources they give out. But even with the amount of resources they give out, there's no way you can keep up with like the premium teams here, because you're talking about having 7-star Gohan, having a 7-star LF Goku. Like, there's just no way you can keep up with that if you're free to play, if you're truly free to play. Unless you're super lucky, right? That's always an option. But I do think like the characters like Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who had the missions where you could just pay 2,000 crystals and get them to 7 stars and get them to Zenkai 1, to me that's 100% more valuable than summoning on a banner. Like, I don't know, let's just pull up the most recent banner that's out. Like summoning on wait, where is it? This banner? Like, imagine you spend I don't know, whatever it is. Like, so it takes 9,000 crystals to get this guy to Zenkai 7 to Goku, even if you have him at 0 stars, because you do the 2,000 crystal mission, and then you pay an extra 7,000 to get him to Zenkai 7, or whatever it is, 6,000. So actually it's 8,000 crystals. So if you use 8,000 crystals, would you rather use that to get this guy to Zenkai 7 guaranteed, or would you rather use 8,000 crystals on this banner and get like a 3-star Metal Cooler and a 2-star Vegeta? Like, what would you rather do? It's just like, it's a night and day difference to me, that it's just so much more valuable to focus on this as opposed to this. Or even, we can take a look at the step up that's out as well. Even this is not worth it, in my opinion. Like, step ups are the best value banners in the game. But then you compare like Champa and Vados to like this guy, I don't even think it's close. This guy's like way better than Champa and Vados. So I don't know. You guys can let me know down below what you think. But that's pretty much been the evolution of the Zenkai system, and basically a look back at how the system evolved over the past year. And to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of how it changed. They definitely made it a lot easier for the average player to obtain Zenkai, so in that regard, I think that was actually a welcome change for a lot of players. But I don't think that just releasing as many Zenkais as they have been the past year, or I guess since the second year anniversary, is really conducive to a healthy PvP environment. Because you take a look at like the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, or this Gohan, or this Goku, or even like Boo when he came out. Like, it's just not fun to fight that if you can't stand up to it. Or even like Zenkai 18 is just like, who has fun getting one combo by Zenkai 18 with your red unit? Like, I've seen footage of people literally cover changing into and attacking Zenkai 18 with their red trunks, Zenkai 7, 14 stars, and he dies from full health. So, again, is that conducive to a fun and healthy PvP environment? I guess you can be the judge of that yourselves. But I think they need to focus more so on not releasing as broken Zenkais. Like, an example of a Zenkai that I thought was actually pretty well done in terms of the balance is this Green Broly. I think he's actually really, really good, but he's not okay. He's not the best Zenkai in the unit, but he's not bad. And in comparison to the new units that have been coming out, he's actually like, he can easily hold his own against some of the new units. Like, we compare him to like the Vados and Champa. I think he's probably better than Champa, but he's not like overwhelmingly better than all the new units like the Super Saiyan 3 Goku or Gohan or 18 is. So I think that they did a good job with it. So like, and also this Bardock too. This Bardock is not overwhelmingly powerful. He's really, really good, but he's not like, he's not to the level where if I see this guy on the enemy team, I'm going to be very, very scared. I'm going to just close the app. Like, people do that against like Gohan and stuff. But if they focus on like building these Zenkai units around a level that this Broly is, or even this Goku, like this Goku I think is really, really, really good, but again, he's not game-breakingly good. So those kinds of levels of Zenkai units I think are good enough to where they should focus on doing that. And then also tone down the speed at which they release these Zenkais, because it's too much. It's too much. Just focus on releasing new units instead of Zenkais, I would say, because it's just more fun in that way. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say here. Let me know down below what you think about the system overall. It's probably been the most controversial thing in this game since it honestly came out. So I figured I'd make a video about the past year on the system. And with that, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you all in the next one.